Mason wiped his hands as the battered sedan sputtered to a halt, steam curling from its hood. The woman who stepped out looked lost, hair tousled, voice trembling, pockets empty. Mason hadn't been paid in weeks, but something in her eyes stopped him. "I can't afford to fix it," she said. He paused, then nodded. "That's not why I'm here." What he didn't know was that this small gesture, one quiet moment of kindness, was about to ignite a chain reaction that would turn his entire world upside down. In the dusty outskirts of a quiet Texas town, Mason Brooks, a 54-year-old mechanic with calloused hands and a kind heart, unlocked the doors to Brooks Auto Repair, a small, crumbling garage he inherited from his father. The shop, once a hub of laughter and revving engines, now echoed with silence and the occasional clink of a wrench. The help wanted sign had faded to near invisibility, and unpaid invoices cluttered the front desk. But every morning, Mason showed up, wearing the same oil-stained cap and holding on to the same unwavering hope. Locals knew him as the kind mechanic, a man who never turned anyone away, even when it meant going without himself. The town had changed. Jobs had dried up, but Mason hadn't. He believed that if you kept your doors open, maybe, just maybe, life would drive in when you needed it most. Then, one scorching afternoon, as the sun dipped low behind the horizon, a beat-up old sedan sputtered onto the lot, trailing smoke. What Mason didn't know was that this simple act, helping a broke woman fix her car for free, would change everything. Within hours, his dusty gravel driveway would be lined with dozens of luxury cars, and Mason's life would never be the same again. The afternoon heat clung to everything like a second skin when the woman stepped out of the smoking car. Her name, she later said, was Charlotte, mid-20s, jeans torn at the knees, and a worn-out backpack slung over one shoulder. Her eyes darted nervously around the empty lot before settling on Mason. "I didn't know where else to go," she murmured, gripping her phone like it was a lifeline. Mason didn't ask questions. He simply popped the hood, whistled at the damaged radiator, and wiped his hands on a rag that had seen better days. "She's lucky she made it this far," he muttered. "Radiator shot." Charlotte's face fell. "Can you fix it?" she asked, voice tight with embarrassment. I don't have the money right now, but I can come back. I promise I'll pay you." He looked at her, not the way some people look when judging, but the way someone looks when remembering. "Leave it here," Mason said finally, voice soft but firm. "I'll take care of it." Tears threatened to spill, but Charlotte blinked them away. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." He shrugged. "Because someone once helped me, and I never forgot what that felt like." She stood there for a moment, speechless, before nodding slowly. "Thank you. I mean it." Mason didn't expect to see her again. He'd been the kind mechanic for years. People made promises, but most never returned. Still, that night he stayed late in the garage, the radio humming low as he cleaned the old radiator, swapped in a used battery from his storage, and gave her car a full tune-up. Not because he expected anything, just because it was the right thing to do. By morning, the car was ready, and so was he to move on with another quiet day. But Mason had no idea what was coming. Around noon, as he was under the hood of a pickup, the unmistakable purr of a luxury engine rolled in. He wiped the sweat from his brow and stepped outside. What he saw made his heart skip a beat. A sleek, black Rolls-Royce Phantom glided to a stop at the edge of his lot. Behind it came a Bentley, then a Mercedes G-Wagon, followed by a Tesla Model X, and a line of other luxury cars so out of place in this small town they looked like they'd driven out of a magazine ad. Drivers in suits stepped out one by one, surveying the old garage with careful curiosity. Mason stared, rag in hand, frozen in place. From the backseat of the Rolls-Royce, the door opened and out stepped Charlotte. Except this time, she looked nothing like the broke woman from the day before. This was someone else entirely. Mason's jaw nearly hit the gravel as Charlotte, now unmistakably transformed, approached with the quiet grace of someone used to commanding a room. Her hair was swept up neatly, her designer coat draped effortlessly over her shoulders, and confidence radiated from her like the Texas sun above. Charlotte, Mason asked, wiping his hands again out of instinct more than need. She smiled softly. Actually, it's Charlotte Langford, my full name. My family owns Langford Enterprises. He blinked. The name rang a bell very loudly. Langford was one of the most powerful family-run conglomerates in the country, with stakes in everything from real estate and finance to clean energy. And now, the heiress was standing in his run-down auto shop, surrounded by dozens of luxury cars and people in $1,000 suits. "I didn't lie," she said gently. "I had no money that day. I left home with nothing but my name. I needed to know if kindness still existed without a price tag." Mason stared, trying to wrap his mind around it all. "So, this was a test." Charlotte nodded. "I've seen people bend over backward for wealth, but you helped me with nothing to gain. That means everything." One of the sharply dressed men stepped forward and handed Mason a dark blue envelope embossed with gold. Inside, a single card read, "You changed someone's life. Now it's your turn." Before he could react, another man approached with a portfolio. "Mr. Brooks, Charlotte would like to invest in your future." He opened the folder, revealing full renovation plans, state-of-the-art equipment, solar paneling, digital diagnostic systems, even a customer lounge. At the bottom was a business grant check larger than anything Mason had ever imagined, let alone held. This can't be real," he stammered. Charlotte stepped closer. "It is. You didn't just fix my car, Mason. You restored my faith in people. And I believe the world needs more places like this. More people like you." He looked around, eyes brimming with disbelief. The garage that had once been his father's legacy, and then his own lifeline, was about to be reborn because he had fixed a car for free. As the luxury cars shimmered in the midday heat, the townsfolk began peeking from behind curtains and doorways, whispers already traveling faster than the dust in the air. This wasn't just a lucky break, this was something bigger, something impossible to ignore. Mason's knees felt weak, but his heart had never stood taller. He looked at Charlotte. "So, what happens next?" She smiled. The same smile from the day before, only stronger now. "Now, we build something that lasts, something that matters." And just like that, Mason's story, rooted in one simple act of kindness, shifted gears into something extraordinary. The following morning, Mason woke to the sound of trucks rumbling and voices shouting instructions. He rushed outside, expecting trouble only to find a full crew of architects, electricians, and builders already hard at work. Blueprints were being unrolled on hoods, drones buzzed overhead capturing survey data, and workers were unloading tools and eco-friendly materials. One woman in a hard hat approached him with a bright smile. "You must be Mr. Brooks. We're here to begin the transformation." "Transformation," Mason echoed, stunned. "Ms. Langford has funded a complete rebuild," she explained. "Top-tier tools, a solar-powered roof, a fully digital diagnostic system, a lounge for customers, everything." "Oh, and she insisted we keep the vintage Brooks Auto sign, said it's part of the soul." Mason's throat tightened. This is really happening." She smiled wider. "You earned it." Later that afternoon, Charlotte arrived again, but this time in a modest electric vehicle, dressed casually, blending in with the workers. She walked beside Mason as the old garage walls came down, revealing not just beams and bricks, but memories. "This place has history," she said quietly. "I don't want to erase that. I want to build on it. But more than that, I want you to lead something bigger." Mason glanced at her, surprised. "Bigger than fixing cars?" Charlotte nodded. "Yes. I want to start a community initiative, free repairs for families who can't afford it. Mentorship programs for struggling teens. Workshops to teach real-world skills. I'll fund it all. But I need someone like you to be its heart." Mason's voice trembled. "Why me?" Charlotte looked him dead in the eye. "Because when no one was watching, you chose kindness. You helped without expectation, and that matters more than any resume or title." As they stood amidst the dust and renovation, Mason realized something had shifted inside him. The old garage wasn't just being rebuilt, it was being reborn. Later that week, a new sign went up: Brooks Auto and Community Garage. Beneath the name, in smaller letters, the words "Powered by Kindness, Open to All," gleamed in brushed steel. Locals started stopping by. At first, just to see if the rumors were true. Then, to volunteer, to donate, to ask for help. The town, once quiet and forgotten, was stirring back to life, sparked by a kind mechanic who had once fixed a car for free. Mason began to see his garage not as a relic of the past, but as a blueprint for the future. He wasn't just fixing engines anymore, he was rebuilding hope. The presence of dozens of luxury cars might have started the story, but it was the everyday people walking through his doors now that truly defined it. And Mason? He no longer saw himself as a man trying to hang on. He was a man finally stepping into his purpose. By the end of the month, the transformation was undeniable. The old shack Mason once called a shop had evolved into a sleek, solar-powered, glass-paneled facility unlike anything the region had seen. But beyond the polished tile floors and the new digital lifts, something deeper was taking root. One morning, a teenage boy named Mateo Rivera showed up at the garage, baggy hoodie, untied sneakers, and a guarded look in his eyes. His mother's car had broken down 2 blocks away, and they couldn't afford the repair. Without hesitation, Mason sent a tow truck. "No charge," he said simply. Later that week, Mateo returned. This time, with a question that would shift everything. "Can I learn what you do?" Mason handed him a pair of gloves and pointed towards the workbench. "Let's start with how to change oil." Word spread like wildfire. By the end of the week, more teens arrived, some from broken homes, others skipping school. Mason, now affectionately called Coach by the kids, cleared out a side of the garage and built a second workspace. It wasn't just about spark plugs and brake pads, it was about dignity, discipline, and direction. Charlotte watched from a distance, quietly moved. What had begun as an experiment of the heart had become a community movement. The kind mechanic who helped fix a car for free had become the cornerstone of a safe space, a sanctuary for those with nowhere else to go. The media caught wind. Local news aired segments titled "Luxury Cars and Second Chances" and "The Garage That Rebuilt a Town." People began driving from out of state, some seeking repairs, others just to witness the place where one act of compassion sparked change. Charlotte approached Mason again with a bold idea. "Let's scale this. Not a franchise, something bigger. A non-profit initiative rooted in kindness. Each shop will offer affordable services, mentorship, and skills training." Mason hesitated. "That sounds like something a businessman does. I just fix cars." She smiled. "No? Mason, you fix people. You show them what's possible." She presented him with the first draft blueprints for the Langford Brooks Foundation, with a goal of building 10 community garages across the state within 2 years. Each location would be modeled after his function first, but with heart at the center. "You won't be alone," Charlotte assured him. "We'll hire teams, administrators. But it has to be you who leads. You're the soul of this." Mason stared at the folder, then out the window at a group of teens laughing over a disassembled alternator. He exhaled deeply. "All right," he said at last. "Let's build it." The opportunity wasn't just about expansion. It was about legacy, about making sure that even long after he put down his tools, the echo of his kindness would still hum through the walls of every garage they opened. And just like that, the man who once thought his world was shrinking stepped into a future bigger than he had ever imagined. In the months that followed, Mason Brooks became something he never expected a mentor, a leader, and, for many, a symbol of what goodness could build. The old garage now buzzed with life. Formerly neglected teens stood side by side with seasoned mechanics, their hands stained with grease and pride. The kind mechanic had become the heart of a new movement, one rooted in empathy, skill, and second chances. Every morning, Mason unlocked the doors to Brooks Auto and Community Garage, not just to fix engines, but to greet a line of faces, some familiar, others hopeful. Some came with broken cars, others came with broken spirits. And somehow, Mason had found a way to mend both. He had always known how to fix things, but now he was learning how to build. With Charlotte Langford's unwavering support, they launched free workshops for single mothers, veterans, and at-risk youth. Mason taught with the patience of a father and the grit of someone who had once felt invisible himself. For the first time in years, he no longer felt like a man left behind. He felt like a man leading something forward. Mateo, the first boy who asked to learn, was now confidently diagnosing engines and helping younger kids follow suit. He even began speaking at local schools, sharing his story. "A free car repair didn't just fix my mom's ride, it gave me a place to belong." The phrase, "powered by kindness," etched beneath the garage's sign became more than just words. It became a code. Mason made it clear everyone deserves a second shot. No one was turned away, no matter their past or their paycheck. As more luxury cars continued to roll in, some from donors, others from curious travelers, the town transformed. What had once been a forgotten corner now pulsed with optimism. Coffee shops opened nearby. Local tradespeople partnered with the foundation. And a sense of pride returned to the streets. But amid all the progress, Mason never lost sight of who he was. He still changed oil, still scraped his knuckles on old bolts, still shared sandwiches with his team at lunch. Fame hadn't changed him. It had clarified him. One evening, Charlotte joined him outside as the sun dipped behind the skyline of steel beams and solar panels. She handed him a plaque. In honor of Mason Brooks, whose kindness rebuilt more than cars, it rebuilt lives. He stared at it, then smiled, humbled. "I didn't do this alone," he said. "No," Charlotte replied. "But none of it would have started without you." Mason looked out at the glowing garage, where laughter echoed and learning thrived. He realized this was no longer just a job, it was a calling, and he had answered it by doing the only thing he ever knew how, helping when it mattered most. 2 months later, Mason Brooks stood in front of an audience he never imagined addressing. The ballroom shimmered with chandeliers, cameras flashed, and well-dressed guests, executives, philanthropists, and city officials filled the seats. At the center of it all was the kind mechanic who once quietly fixed cars in a dusty Texas town. Clutching the microphone, Mason adjusted his collar. He still wasn't used to suits. "I'm not a public speaker," he began, his voice steady but honest. "I fix engines. I used to think that was all I was good at until someone showed me otherwise. In the front row." Charlotte Langford watched with a quiet, proud smile. I helped a stranger fix her car. Mason continued. I didn't ask who she was. I didn't expect anything. I just remembered what it felt like to need help, and how powerful it can be when someone offers it without strings. He paused, letting the silence settle. Since that day, I've seen lives change. I've seen teens who had given up on themselves become builders. I've watched single moms learn how to change tires and walk out with their heads high. And I've met people who drove for miles, not for repairs, but for hope. The audience erupted in applause, but Mason lifted his hand gently to continue. This isn't about me. It never was. It's about what happens when kindness becomes contagious. When fixing a car turns into fixing a life. When one good decision can ripple through an entire town. Charlotte stepped onto the stage and handed Mason a sleek, black envelope. You deserve the world, Mason, she said softly. Now, you're going to help build one. Inside was something he could hardly believe, the deed to a 10-acre property just outside town. Plans had already begun a state-of-the-art training center, a transitional shelter for those starting over, and a national headquarters for the Langford Brooks Foundation. The facility would be a beacon for every struggling mechanic, every lost teenager, every soul looking for a second chance. That night, Mason couldn't sleep. He sat on the front porch of his modest home, holding the deed like it might disappear. But it didn't. Every signature, every line of ink, it was real. He looked out at the quiet Texas stars, hands weathered and scarred, but filled with purpose. Everything had changed. Not because he had sought wealth or recognition, but because he had said yes when someone in need showed up on his doorstep. From fixing one woman's car for free to standing on a global stage. From an empty shop to dozens of luxury cars parked in tribute to a story that resonated far beyond engines and oil. From a mechanic to a movement, Mason Brooks had built more than a garage. He had built a legacy, one bolt, one lesson, one act of kindness at a time. In a world driven by profits and transactions, Mason Brooks proved that the most valuable currency is still kindness. One act fixing a broken-down car for free ignited a ripple effect that transformed not just his life, but the lives of everyone around him. He didn't wait for recognition or calculate the ROI of compassion. He simply helped because it was the right thing to do. If this story touched your heart, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, real-life moments that prove kindness still exists. Hit that bell so you never miss an uplifting story again.